Okay, so now that we've kind of gone through the rock version of this, let's check out the hip hop version of it. Now, one of the next videos, not the next, but I'm going to be making videos that discuss how to go about setting your mix up to be loud, how to build a loud mix from almost start to finish. This rough mix right here, which I didn't touch yet, I have a whole host of issues with this mix that I will point out when I break this mix down and just try to optimize it to be loud. But for now, we're taking essentially, we're almost looking like we're living like a mastering engineer on this one, right? We didn't do the mix. This mix isn't us. We were handed this and told, hey, make this loud. So I'll play it for a second just to get an idea of what it is.
All the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears.
So first thing you probably noticed is the bloom of the bass in the low end, right? If somebody says they want this mix loud, in order for this mix to still feel impactful, that bass still has to have meaning and has to have context. So if we turn and just drive it into a limiter, we're going to run into a lot of issues. First and foremost, the limiter itself is going to just grab that bass and use that essentially and the kick to kind of be triggering the mix. Now, overall, the production on this is pretty good because you have your low end elements, which are giving you the big bottom feel, but you don't have a ton of other stuff in the mids and highs that are just like kind of cluttering up the mix where they're just as important. Like the mix is centered around that bass line and the kick and then that mid-rangey vocal. So first things first, everything again level matched. Let's listen to the raw and then we'll kick on the limiter.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneer. Didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears. So I can get my focus on. I'm writing one of the dopest songs. This music's one of the closest phones I've holding on. And I never was posing for them cameras. Fuck you when the glamorous, this real shit.
So I like what the limiter is doing more with this mix than I did with the rock mix, where you felt everything just kind of pumping. My complaint is that the low end is kind of smearing. So we're losing the kick in the bass. It's kind of being swallowed up by it or being pushed down into it. And again, we're getting that mid-range congestion. We're going to double back, but let's move on to the clipper now and see what we're getting from the clipper. So first the raw.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears till I shine when the drama finally clears. So I can get my focus on. I'm writing one of the dopest songs. This music's one.
No. If I had a dime for every mix that I get sent that feels like this, I could retire right now. And that'd be dope because I'd be on a, well, I can't, I'd say I'd be on a beach. I burn in January in New Jersey. So yeah, I probably wouldn't be on a beach, but I'd be somewhere cool.
Honey, focus.
So what you probably heard, right, is the transients are blowing up, especially when that double kick hits with the bass. One more time, check that out. It just distorts. Now, I've heard mixes, even commercial mixes that have been released that kind of have this vibe. And again, this is what we talk about with loudness being a vibe. If that's the way you want it to be, like, no, man, I want this mix to sound like it's blowing your system up. Okay, that's a different conversation. But if these artifacts aren't intended, then you are now doing something highly destructive to the mix by putting a soft clipper on that is just obliterating the top of those transients. So here we go again. Listen to the distortion.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears. So
every time that bass blooms and you get that double kick, it distorts, and the top of the vocal is also distorting. Now, again, to an unseasoned ear, right, or to just somebody just wants to just turn this thing up, listen, it isn't sitting around like we are, which is why this community is awesome, that we sit around and like to nerd out about this stuff. But if somebody just wants to turn it up and doesn't really give a damn, right, it might sound more exciting because you're getting that saturation at the top. It might not feel as dull, but it's absolutely blowing up. And if you did have a more seasoned producer that sent you this, or a label that sent you this to mix, and they're not looking for you to do that to it, you could be in trouble in a hurry. Okay, so now let's move on to the clip and limit bus, where we discussed we're going to use a little bit of transient management from the clipper, and then we're feeding it into a limiter. First, we'll start with the raw.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still just should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears. So I can get my focus on. I'm right.
Okay, so it's doing the clipping thing just a little bit, but it's kind of cool considering the fact that, maybe there would have been a little bit of, saturation or something added to the kick or the bass to kind of give it a little bit of fuzz. This isn't as egregious or offensive to me as just the Clipper was. I still don't love it. And I still, if it was me mixing and they asked me they said, in order to get paid, you have to deliver the mix at this LUFS, I would keep searching for another solution before I would say, okay, this is what we have to live with if you want it this loud with me working on the track. Maybe somebody that just has a whole other host of tricks could come up with something different, which brings me to, well, let's actually go through these three first, comparing them to each other. So here's the limiter.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get that shit dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my phone in one of the dopest songs. This music's bones I found what I've been holding on. And I never was to showing.
And something else that's worth noting, working with songs that have a big low end or hip hop, rap, whatever it is that you're gonna be doing, pop music that has, big sub stuff going on. Even though the limiter is kind of cool, it's choking the low end because the role of the bass in this is to kind of bloom up and give you impact and kind of lend like weight to what's happening. So when you take that and you kind of just like flatten it out and it's just the whole time, you kind of lose the impact of the bloom of those big notes. You can hear it in the raw, and you can also hear that bloom a little bit in the clipped version. But the ones that have the limiter, we're hearing it kind of flatten out. We're hearing the low end come up, so the whole thing feels more bass heavy. But yet, while that's like, oh, cool, it feels like it has more bass, it actually feels like the bass is less impactful. And that's something that I definitely want you to think about. So with the stack version that I did here, this is actually something when I am working on hip hop and rap and things like that and need to get something loud, I kind of work this way. And it's a little counterintuitive, but the first thing that I do actually is I put an EQ at the front of everything and I pull the low out. So let me bypass everything for a second here. Open this up.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on writing when
So the first thing I'm doing is I'm pulling that low down. And why am I doing that? Because I want to protect it. I want to protect it from everything that's about to follow. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the gold clip on. Now the gold clip in this situation is going to kind of be taming a little bit of the transients at the top, but because we're kind of pulling the lows down first, they're going to be shielded a little bit from running head on into this, like kind of being like the ones like, like with the flag at the front of the army that's like charging, like that's our low end. We don't want our low end to be that in this situation. We want the low end to be like way in the back telling everybody else, hey, you go first, you go first, you go first.
through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on them.
So you could hear we're protecting the transients, right?
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine.
So I even just pushed it a little more there, and we still aren't hearing the splat or the low end start to kind of blow up. Now, the next thing we do is like we did in our clip and limit. We're going to go into a limiter, punchy, same kind of concept, and we're going to push in and start doing a little bit of limiting to get some volume going.
Through all the years, always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get
about 3, right? And our goal is, again, we're listening to the low end, making sure that we're protecting that low end, allowing it to feel big as we bring the level up. So it's kind of like we keep adding a tool and then we keep working between those 3. So I wouldn't even move on to anything else. I'd keep toggling between these 3 to kind of dial in where I feel like I protected my low end enough, but I'm also picking up level and I'm not hearing things start to get dull or smushed or anything else. So just like in the other example of the stack, I bring in an EQ next that again is going to be surgical for me. I'm still going to protect a little more low end as I'm going into my final limiter. I'm doing the lift that we talked about, and I'm also putting a little bit of bump to make sure that I'm kind of emphasizing some of that knock in the kick drum as well a little bit as we're kind of looping things down. So let's listen without.
through all the years, Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on. I'm writing one of the dopest songs.
Hear how when I pulled the shelf back in and out, like the vocal lifted, the hats lifted a little bit. Pay attention to that again.
Went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message.
And you remember we talked about, right, how frequencies can feel up, down, forward, back, right? So lifting gives an extension. It's kind of like a way to psychoacoustically work against that ceiling that the limiter is bringing down on us. Now let's listen to see if we get anything out of this little bump at 100.
Went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on. I'm writing one of the dopest songs.
Listen to the kick and imagine a kick being a circle. If we are thinking about this, I hear it a little bit at kind of like the bottom of the circle. It just gives a little bit more weight in the bottom of the circle. So here we are out.
Went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I
You hear that? So we're trying to preserve the bloom of the bass, but we want to make sure that our kick drum still has some weight and that it's not completely sinking down into the bass line, like how we noticed with the limiter and just kind of smearing the whole low end. Okay, and then last but not least, we have our limiter. Didn't do anything fancy. I think it's probably just copied over from the other ones.
went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Still didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on. I'm writing one of the dopest songs. This music's one of the closest phones I've phoned while I've been.
On a meter, we are louder than the other mixes, but I'm still hearing more movement in the low end. So let's confirm, because this is being done kind of in real time here, so I'm not like, you know, I haven't had a chance to really go through and crazy A/B. So let's do an A/B across the board here. So here we go with the raw.
Went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Didn't get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on. I'm writing songs. This music's one of the closest phones I've phoned while I've been holding on. And I never was just showing off, posing for them cameras. Fuck you in the shit, I can handle this. I kill shit, fuck the championships. Never been a fan of this, went through all the years.
Okay, so here's what I've noticed. We'll go through one more time, and I want you to pay attention to the relationship of the bass to the vocal. With the limiter, the bass and vocal feel like they are now like right on top of each other, and those blooms that we notice in the bass aren't there to the extent that they are when the bass isn't being as, you know, heavily limited. The clip, it feels a little more open, but it's distorting. So we're hearing that distortion when the big bass hits and kicks line up. The clip and limit is cool. You can notice it brings the bass up like to the same level as the limiter in a sense, but we're getting a little bit of that kind of splat from the gold clip, which I don't like. And then in the one that we kind of created here with a little bit more of an extensive chain, it to me feels open. The relationship to the vocal and the bass feel great. It feels like it has that energy that like we're getting from the limiter, but the vocal feels much more present. It doesn't feel as kind of washed over or head coldy. So see if you notice those as I move through this again.
Went through all the years. Always tried to learn from the pioneers. Get the message, I should dry my ears. I can wait till I shine when the drama finally clears, so I can get my focus on. Songs, this music's one of the closest phones I've phoned while I've been holding on. And I never was just showing off, posing for them cameras. Fuck you in the glamour.
See how the bass just feels wide open here? It's still hitting. The vocal feels present. The whole thing feels more transparent. Now, again, that's my style. I like to be really intentional with everything I do. So when I'm doing things like this, I'm not looking to put some kind of EJ Gob coloring on your mix. I'm looking to draw out exactly what you're looking to have happen through that mix. And if you're telling me you want it loud, well, then I want the mix to feel as loud as possible, but still as preserved and authentic as possible. That's just me. Other mixers, you know, love to work with vibe and imparting their tone on things and come up with some really cool stuff. But I think it's important, as we kind of went through, to understand what the pros and cons were of each. Now, let me leave you with a little bit of an organized thought pattern here. And where I want you to think when you're working with loudness and limiting and clipping and everything else is the dark side of things. Like asking yourself, where did I go or did I go too far? And here's a checklist that I want you to use. The first, I want you to ask yourself, are my transients smearing? Are they losing shape? Or do my transients feel still natural and authentic to the mix that was crafted? The next thing is distortion. Am I hearing any extra distortion in my mix, especially in the vocals and the cymbals? The third thing, is my low end collapsing? Am I noticing movement or does it feel like just energy and rumble? The last thing is harsh mids, which is, does this mix start to fatigue my ear the more I listen to it? And especially at louder volumes, is the 2 to 5K range feeling very fragile? I'll give you a bonus one. The bonus one is, are things starting to feel dull, like they're over-processed and aspects becoming buried? So that is, to me, a great checklist that you can have written down near where you're doing or just, memorized. And whenever you are toggling, and I strongly suggest making sure that you level match, listen to what you've done after you've made it louder, bring that volume way down and listen to it against the normal mix level, and then determine whether or not what you're doing is helping. Because if we listen to all of these at their volume that the processing brought it up to compared to the raw, almost all of them you'd say sounds better, because we perceive as humans louder is better. But when we hear things compared apple to apples, we can start noticing more of the destructive qualities and the trade-off of trying to make things louder. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had an absolute ton of fun making it. The next one's going to be all about different platforms and what loudness means on those platforms and understanding your meters. And then from there, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about building loud mixes from start to finish. Okay, my friends, have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video.